Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Gran Turismo, number 2 would be Blue Beetle, number 3 would be Barbie, number 4 would be Oppenheimer, and number 5 would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And I only got 3 out of 5 of my predictions right. Not on not on National Cinema Day of all days to get predictions wrong. A lot of you did get it right though. Some of you did predict the ultimate switch up that would happen in the number 2 and number 3 spots, and I was too naive to see that one of these movies would not hold over well compared to the movie that has been doing well. So let's go over what happened in the overall top 10. Number 1 was in fact Gran Turismo after weeks of very odd Friday, Saturday, and Sunday showings where, as far as I could tell, they were all taking place at like 7 p.m. And this was Sony's attempt to we're delaying the movie to let word of mouth kind of spread since we can't rely on actors to do promo because, you know, the strikes that we won't resolve, we the studios won't resolve because we're too greedy. I guess it worked a little bit because it was originally tracking for a 10 million opening, but it instead opened with 17.3, and that's enough. Apparently, for some people. And it also already adds to a worldwide total of 53 million, so 7 million shy of crossing over its initial production budget of $60 million. I do wonder how this movie will continue to hold over, because very obviously, I don't know if it's entirely just a lack of promotion thing. Obviously, that plays a part, but I don't know if it's that, but also just a lack of interest from the trailers. As you know, as far as I can tell, there are some people that are going out like, well, color me surprised, but there's nothing really glowing about the reactions to the movie, you know what I mean? Most of the people saying color me surprised are kind of like, I mean, yeah, it has its fair share of issues, and, you know, it's a very typical kind of like sports movie that has all the cliches, and it's based on a true story, but, you know, it still feels very much so like a movie, and then at that point the truth becomes a little blurred. So I do wonder if this will actually hold over well and word of mouth can spread for a movie like this, or if it's just kind of like, well, everything I hear about it is just, you know, not winning me over. Anyways, though, I sincerely doubt that it can even cross over its initial production budget, the doubling point of that. So it needs 120 million to technically be considered a success, since that's the doubling point of the initial budget. I'm not even sure if it can really get there, even though it is opening up with a worldwide total of 53 million. But the thing is, though, is that it was at like 22 million, 21. It was a little over 20 million like last weekend, when some people were already kind of saying that. So it only went up by 30 million in the weeks to pass. So I don't really see a strong future financially as far as the domestic run goes with this, or worldwide run for that matter. Let's talk about Neil Blomkamp for a second, because this guy has been getting just raw deal after raw deal, it seems, and it's a shame, since most of the raw deals are him giving himself the raw deals, since a lot of these are his own movies that he wants to make. But let's go over it. As far as opening weekends go, yes, it did have an opening weekend slightly above Chappie, at least by 4 million, and for, you know, all intents and purposes, this movie is technically a little better than Chappie, so, you know, got something going there, Mr. Blomkamp. And also it had a $17 million opening over Demonic. And you might be wondering, what the fuck is that? It's the COVID horror film that he made that I only know about because Red Letter Media covered it, and they did not do so positively. So I have not seen it, but I know that there's a kind of big negative stigma towards it. And apparently in interviews he was like, I'm not even really that into the horror genre, and it's like, then why the fuck? And I get it, because of COVID, and he was basically just looking for an excuse to make a movie, and keep people employed during COVID, which, you know, good on him for that, but still, man. Anyways, as far as the other movies, yeah, the opening weekend is 12 million below Elysium and 20 million below District 9. It has outgrossed Demonic by 17 million, but it still needs 14 million to outgross the entire domestic run of Chappie. And then worldwide, like I said, it's sitting at 53 million, so it is 53 million over Demonic, because Demonic only made like in the 100,000s, so not a great run, because not that many people knew it existed. It didn't get a wide release. But it also still needs now 52 million until it outgrosses Chappie worldwide. Domestically, it has, I would say, a slightly stronger chance of getting that 14 million, but the 52 million worldwide, I don't even know. You know, There's a part of me that thinks like there is a chance for this to, hold over well-ish enough. But then there's another part of me that's like, man, maybe next weekend this thing just sinks. But we'll just have to wait and see. These times are unpredictable. Moving on to number 2, though, is Barbie, holding over well enough to get past Blue Beetle. And actually, it was just barely number 1 again this weekend after being dethroned. It almost went back. It made 17.1 million this weekend, so only 0.2 million off from Gran Turismo, which now adds to a domestic total of 594 million. Not only is this movie 6 million away from 600 million domestically, which is pretty impressive already, but it has outgrossed the Super Mario Bros. Domestic run by 20 million, so it is officially the highest grossing domestic film of 2023. Kind of outstanding. And because of that, it is now the number 14 highest grossing domestic run of all time, and it now needs 14 million until it outgrosses Incredibles 2 and gets into the number 13 spot. So things are lining up very well for this one. Worldwide, it jumped up a little bit. It jumped up a lot, actually, now sitting at 1,340,000,000. So as far as the 2023 year goes, it now only needs 18 million until it outgrosses Mario, but I would say next weekend we'll be seeing that happen, which is very exciting. And then for the all-time worldwide list, it jumped up so much that now it has outgrossed Black Panther's number 17 spot by 4 million. And it's actually, as far as the all-time worldwide list goes, it is behind Mario. So last weekend, I feel like last weekend it was behind Super Mario for the domestic list. So it was like, okay, it's behind it for 2023, but now it's caught up to it in the all-time one. And that's now where Barbie and Super Mario are in the worldwide ranking. So very exciting times for Barbie, and not really exciting for number 3, which is Blue Beetle. And yes, it had a drop off of like 61%. So yeah, it's not doing great. And there are some people online who are trying to, gas up the movie and try to talk about it like, hey, this really meant a lot to me and I really enjoyed it. Like, I really wish this was a success. I really want to see this character and this actor play this character again. All the, the fears of it getting completely eradicated because of an upcoming reboot. And hope maybe that'll get some people encouraged to watch it and go check it out. And hey, because it was National Cinema Day, who knows how many more people went out to see Blue Beetle now that tickets are $4. And of course, the $4 ticket doesn't help much, because it's like, even if like the entire theater is filled up with like people who all bought $4 tickets, it's like it's not the same as a normal price ticket. So you would have an influx, but it's not enough. Either way, this movie made 12 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 46 million now. It is a couple 100,000 over Wonder Woman 1984's domestic run, and it's now behind The Suicide Squad by 9 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 81 million. It is still not outgrossed Shazam 2. It now needs 51 million to do so. So still not great, and I know some people are there's some people that are already looking at like the tracking for its long range overall gross, and it's like, as long as it can get over its initial production budget, then it's good. You can say it's a success. And it's like, yeah, just because it was originally intended to go to streaming, so the budget is, sitting at like either 100 million or 120, that's like the numbers that I keep seeing, and no one's really definitive on which one. For all of these movies, they still need to make a little bit more than that, and if you only like just barely squeak by the initial production budget for this kind of movie, that's not enough, so there's a lot of people that are like very early on just going like, well, you see, it's gonna turn out okay in the long run. And it's like, I mean, they could probably bring the character back, the same actor, and it won't matter too much, but it's still not a great look for, I think it's still not a great look for Warner Brothers and the overall just decay of the state of DC prior to now James Gunn and Peter Safran planning everything out. This and Aquaman are like the leftovers, and who even knows where the fuck Aquaman is right now. Moving on to number 4, which is Oppenheimer, making 9 million, adding to a domestic total of 300 million. So it is officially, it's tripled its initial production budget in just the domestic run. And also for Christopher Nolan, it has outgrossed Inception by 8 million. And it's now behind The Dark Knight Rises' run by 148 million. And I obviously it's not gonna stick around long enough to garner that much money. But the fact that it outgrossed Inception, because that's like Nolan's highest grossing film that isn't a Batman movie. So now that is no longer the case. It's Oppenheimer. That's incredible. And who would have guessed that Oppenheimer would be the one to outgross Inception in the first place? Worldwide, it is sitting at $777 million, and it still needs $48 million until it outgrosses Inception there, but hopefully we'll be able to see it slowly inch past that either in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now. But I think we're definitely going to see it outgross Inception there too, and it's just very special all around. And speaking of just a little bit special, number 5, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, making $6 million, adding to a domestic total of $98 million. It is still behind the original film, this time by $37 million, but worldwide it is sitting at $135 million right now. So it is it's so close. It just needs $5 million more until it doubles its $70 million initial production budget, and then you can technically call it a success since they have doubled it, and since, it's still relatively fresh in the theaters, and people are certainly talking about this more than your Blue Beetles, and the holdovers for this movie in the theaters have been a little bit better than your Blue Beetles. So this movie will have the opportunity, once it crosses that, doubling point worldwide, it'll still have a couple more, weekends to garner up just a little bit more, It is a bummer that it is seemingly coming to digital pretty soon. I think it said September 1st or like someday in the first week of September. Very disappointing that they're going through with that kind of approach as far as releasing it to streaming and, home media, whatever. But hey, I think they're in a pretty good spot though, because we've seen some movies, announce their dates pretty early, but some people will still go to the theater to check it out. So hopefully Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is still in that state. Either way, since it is so close to doubling its budget, I think it'll be all right. So that's pretty special. It is still behind the original film worldwide by $67 million, but I think I just wanted to highlight it's almost at the doubling point, which is something. Number 6 is Meg 2: The Trench, making $5 million, adding to a domestic total of $74 million, so it's still $71 million off from the original film, and worldwide it is sitting at $352 million, which is $175 million off from the original. But hey, I don't really have anything else to add. And I really, it's good to see Jason Statham have a hit after Operation Fortune kind of sunk really fast. Wrath of Man came out like in 2021. People were still like iffy about going back to theaters. But I think it's just good for Jason Statham to have some kind of hit, waiting for that Meg 3 announcement, but I really don't have anything else to add to this. So let's move on to number 7, which is Strays. It held over, it had a drop off of like in the 40s, 40%, but when it opened so low last weekend, it's like, well, yeah, this doesn't really help that much, and especially with the budget being what it is. It made $4 million, adding to a domestic total of $16 million, and worldwide it is slightly bumped up to $21 million, so just a little under half of what it needs to get past the initial production budget, which, still doesn't put it in a good spot, which is a bummer because I thought the movie was pretty funny and pretty good, and there was a part of me that was like, maybe it'll catch on, because it is essentially, it's Good Boys, but it's dogs, taking like the innocent family film and, twisting it and making it an R-rated comic, but it didn't work out in this case, unfortunately. And I don't really have anything else to add to this. So let's move on to number 8, which is Retribution. This one is not one of Liam Neeson's Briarcliff collaborations, like Marlowe was, or like, what are the other ones? Blacklight, just the ones recently that have just been really generic. Memory is another one. This was a Lionsgate distributed one. This was from the director of Predators, if you remember that, and the Metallica movie with Dane DeHaan from like 2013. He's done a couple other things like Vacancy. But yeah, this movie, like I predicted, even though the numbers were pretty low last weekend, I was like, they won't be low enough where Retribution still won't get at least like in the bottom 5, and here it is. It made $3 million this weekend, which is on a budget of $20 million, and since it has no worldwide totals, it seems like they're not going to recoup that. As far as the director, it has an opening weekend $3 million over his film's Control and $2 million over Metallica. It is $3 million under Armored, $4 million under Vacancy, and $21 million under Predators. So still not in a great spot for the overall domestic runs, because like I said, there's no worldwide totals for this movie, so I won't compare the other ones. Domestically, it's already outgrossed Control by $3 million, and it's a couple $100,000 over what the Metallica movie made in its overall run, which I was a little bit surprised by. And it's now behind Armored by $12 million, but with an opening like this, and pretty much no word of mouth. I think it's safe to say this is just a certified dud. Number 9 is The Hill, which is a Briarcliff movie. I was shocked to see that Liam Neeson somehow was not in this and it wasn't an action film. It's like a inspirational baseball movie with Dennis Quaid. It's maybe based on a true story, but I remember the trailers being like, oh man, it's one of these, just so hokey. But this also didn't do very well. It made 2.5 million. I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is. I'm pretty sure I also couldn't find any of the budgets for the Briarcliff Liam Neeson collaboration, so I guess it's a pretty common thing for those movies to just not have any financial information, and there's no worldwide total to bump it up to make it look like it's a bigger success, so it'll come and go. Unlike number 10, which has been here for a little bit, but it's about to finally drift away until it hits Disney+, Haunted Mansion closing out the video. It lasted a little longer than Talk to Me and Mission Impossible. What the fuck? It made 2.1 million, adding to a domestic total of 62 million. It is still 13 million shy from outgrossing the original Eddie Murphy film, and worldwide it is sitting at 91 million, which is not only 64 million shy from the Eddie Murphy film, but it's 9 million off from crossing over to 100 million worldwide, and it couldn't even do it. I'm not sure if it has any other places to be released worldwide, or if it already just blazed through its release schedule, because yeah, this is a big dud for Disney, on the financial end of things. Like, this did not go over well. I hope those streaming numbers are worth it. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I gotta go with The Equalizer 3. Even without any actor promotions. The Equalizer films, they weren't like big blockbuster hits, but they were like moderate kind of successes. Like, they doubled their initial budgets, they go a little over than that, and there is some kind of fan base for this, so I'm still predicting this to be number 1. And then number 2 may be a bit too bold, but I think Bottoms, just based off of it had a pretty great opening for the 5 theaters that it opened with like $500,000. Didn't crack the top 10, so I can't talk about it for the format of this video, but I'm thinking with the especially really positive word of mouth when it expands into these other theaters, I think we may see a chance for it to really shine here. At least I'm hoping. And then number 3, Gran Turismo, number 4, Barbie, and number 5, Blue Beetle. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.